Hi everyone, it's Chris from the Driving Theory Workshop. I'm here with another live, and today we're going to be talking about the different types of pedestrian crossings. So there's lots of different pedestrian crossings, and it's really useful for you to know this information, both for your theory test, but also obviously for when you take your practical test, and then later on in when you're driving independently and when you've passed your test as well. So feel free to just drop any questions, any comments into the comments section below. If you're watching live, put hashtag live. If you're watching a replay, comment with hashtag replay, just so I know who's live and who's on replay. So thank you so much for everybody who's joined us. For those of you who don't know, my name is Chris London. So I am the owner and founder of the Driving Theory Workshop, a course that we set up when was it? About 5 years ago or so now. And the course has helped over 15,500 people now to pass their driving theory test. And it's really great to see so many success stories. So many of you joining us on our page. I think we've got about 20,000 people in our Learner Drivers Advice group. We've got about 50,000 people on our page, about another 10,000 on Instagram. So it's really great to see everybody here. If you haven't joined the Learner Drivers Advice and Support group and you're on the page, feel free to come and join us. Like I say, search for the Learner Drivers Advice and Support group and you'll see it. There's loads of people in there that are offering help and support. Everyone's sort of helping each other out in that group, which is really great to see. So let's get on with it then. So different types of pedestrian crossings. Like I say, drop any questions you've got into the comments section. I'm happy to answer any of those for you. So the first thing to note is that there's two different types of crossings with regards to the fact that one is controlled and one is uncontrolled. And then inside those, there's different types of crossings as well. So let's talk about controlled versus uncontrolled crossings. So a controlled crossing is something where you'd have something like a traffic light, for example. And when the light goes to red, obviously the green man comes on and you can cross the road as a pedestrian. So that's a controlled crossing because there's lights there to control it. Now there's also uncontrolled crossing. Now an uncontrolled crossing is something like a zebra crossing. So a zebra crossing doesn't have a red light on it. Instead it has a flashing amber beacon. So that if those of you don't know what a flashing amber beacon is, it's the post with a black and it's got white sort of stripes around it, and then it's got the orange sort of ball light on the top, and it flashes. Okay, so that's uncontrolled because it's down to the fact that the motorist has to notice that there's somebody at the crossing or on the crossing and then should come to a stop. So as a motorist, we need to be aware that the flashing amber light on an uncontrolled crossing like a zebra crossing means that you must obviously stop if there's somebody at the crossing or on the crossing. So as a pedestrian walks up to the crossing, you should be judging that situation as you head towards it, slowing down, because at that time you might not know whether they're going to walk past the crossing or whether they're suddenly going to turn. So you need to be aware of that. So that's where this sort of hazard perception comes in and noticing stuff that's happening. So that's the first thing that you need to do is obviously spot that. And then if somebody does step onto the crossing, you need to stop the vehicle and you must wait until they are fully across the crossing before you continue. Okay, now you need to bear that in mind. The examiner is going to be expecting you to wait because that person could walk halfway across and change their mind and walk back. It's unlikely that might happen, but it could happen. And so you need to be aware of that. So that's an uncontrolled crossing. So then we've got controlled crossing. And we've got four key types of controlled crossings. We've got Pelican crossings, we've got Puffin crossings, we've got Toucan crossings, and then we've got Equestrian crossings or Pegasus crossings, as they're also known. So let's talk about each of those in a little bit more detail. So the first controlled crossing we're going to talk about is the Pelican crossing. Okay, so a Pelican crossing means that as a pedestrian, what we would do is we would walk up to the control box, press the button on it, we'd wait for the light to turn to red for the motorists, then we'd see the green man come on, and it would give us a set amount of time to get across the road. Okay, so it's going to give a minute or 30 seconds or whatever that is for you to cross that road. And then as you start to cross the road, sometimes you'll start to hear it beep and the flashing green man is there, and it's telling you that it's going to suddenly, change back soon to green. So if you haven't already started crossing, you should be waiting. If you have started crossing, then obviously continue making your way across. Now, as a motorist, even if that light was to turn to green, we should make sure that person is fully off the crossing. What we have to bear in mind is some people might not be able to cross the road as fast as others, and therefore we need to obviously give the pedestrian the right of way to continue across the road should they not be able to make it across the road in time. But that's a Pelican crossing, so it's a set amount of time to allow the person to get across. It's got that flashing amber light for a motorist, so before it goes back, so it will be on red for the motorist as the green man's on for the pedestrian, and then as it starts beeping and the pedestrian's making the way across the final part of crossing the road, what the motorist will see is the light will go back to a flashing amber before it goes to red. And flashing amber means you must wait if there's still somebody on the crossing. Same flashing amber meaning as when we've seen the zebra crossing. So if there's somebody on the crossing, you've got to wait. If it's free, then you can go. Same with the Pelican crossing. If it's flashing amber and the person's finished crossing and they've walked off, there's no one else crossing, then you can proceed. So the sequence for a Pelican crossing is a red light, and then it'll go to amber, and then, flashing amber, sorry, and then green. And then when it comes back up, it'll go to solid amber and then to red. So it goes, remember, if you're sitting stationary at red, it'll go flashing amber before it goes to green. And then it'll go solid amber and to red when it's coming and telling you to stop. Now, that's the only... so that crossing has got the flashing amber light. So if you're asked on your theory test which crossing has a flashing amber light, it will be a Pelican crossing. Now, the other type of crossing is a Puffin it's called a Puffin crossing, which stands for Pedestrian User Friendly Intelligent Crossing. Okay, so what that means is that when, as a pedestrian, you press that button that you want to walk across the road and you wait for the green man, these are a little bit more clever and utilize technology a bit more. So it's got sensors and it will sense whether somebody has finished crossing the road or not. And it's not going to change that light back to green for the motorist until it senses or doesn't sense that there's someone on the crossing. So once it realizes the person's not on the crossing anymore, that is when the light will change back to green for the road user, so for the motorist. So a little bit more cleverer, that type of crossing, a little bit safer, I suppose, as well, because obviously it knows whether somebody's there or not. Doesn't need a flashing amber light because, if you think about the Pelican crossing and the flashing amber light's saying you can go if it's clear. The Puffin crossing, it knows if it's clear or not because it's sensed whether there's anybody there or not. So if it's sensed that there's no one there anymore, it will change it back to green for the motorist. And then obviously they can continue and proceed ahead. So that's the second type. Okay, so remember, Pelicans have got a flashing amber light and they're done on a timer. A Puffin doesn't have a flashing amber light because it doesn't need one because it's got the technology to sense whether there's someone on the crossing or not. So the third type of crossing that we're going to deal with or talk about is a Toucan crossing. Now, a Toucan crossing, the easiest way to remember this is Toucan cross. Okay, so it's not spelt like toucan, it's spelt like toucan as in the bird, so Toucan. Okay, but remember it as two can cross. Okay, and the two that can cross are pedestrians and cyclists. So a cyclist does not have to dismount from their bicycle before proceeding across when it's safe to do so. They can cycle across. Now, the easiest way for you to spot a toucan crossing is that where you have the sort of red man and the green man, there'll also be a picture of a bicycle. So you get a green bicycle as well. And that will indicate that it's a toucan crossing. But the rules are still the same. Obviously, if it's a red light, then you should stop. If it's a green light, then you can go. And like anything, if you're approaching that, use that hazard perception skill that you've got. That if you're approaching a light and somebody's at the crossing and that you sense that they've pressed that button, it's likely that that light is going to be changing. So we shouldn't be accelerating heavily towards it. We should be aware that that pedestrian crossing is going to be changing to red likely anytime soon. So we just need to use that awareness and that hazard perception skill that we've got to make informed decisions. Now, these lights are different. Pedestrian crossings are different to traffic lights in that traffic lights will aid the flow of traffic. So it may be that you're at a crossroads and they'll turn to red so that you can stop so that cars can come across the crossroad, and then theirs goes to red and you can go. And that's how traffic lights work. But a pedestrian crossing is only going to turn to red should somebody press the button, because there's no other reason. If it was just on a straight road and there's no flow of traffic in other directions, there's no reason for it to turn to red for any other reason other than if somebody's pressed that button. But use that hazard perception, use that awareness that you've got to make informed decisions on how you should be approaching. And as you're approaching, obviously make sure you know what's going on behind you as well, because if you do have to slow down and stop, you need to know what's happening behind you, if there's any vehicles close, etc. So the final type of crossing that we're going to talk about is the equestrian crossing, or the Pegasus crossing as it's also known. Now, the equestrian crossing, as the name suggests, is for horse riders. So this is for people on horseback. Again, it allows people to not have to get off the horse. And you tend to get these in sort of country areas of countryside, things like that. And the easiest way to spot them is that they've got the button, so the control unit that you press to when you want to cross is higher up, so you don't have to dismount off of the horse, press the button, get back up again, and it'll be all a bit awkward. You can press that button, so that's the easiest way for you to spot that. So like I say, you don't tend to see too many of those unless you live in the countryside. The other types, though, the Pelican, the Puffin, and the Toucan crossing, they're ones that you will see a lot more often. But the key is, yes, you'll need to know the names of them for the theory test, but with regards to the rules of the road, you just need to use that awareness, use that hazard perception skill that you've got. Remember, obviously, slowing down for a red light, wait until the crossing's clear, not going until it's on green unless it's a flashing amber and the crossing's clear, and use that awareness skill that I mentioned before. So that's the different types of pedestrian crossings. Remember, there's uncontrolled crossings, like a zebra crossing, and then there's the controlled crossings, which is the Pelican, the Puffin, the Toucan, and the equestrian crossing. And hopefully that will help you with your theory test and with your practical test. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop us a message through the Driving Theory Workshop page. If you haven't already, come and join us on the Driving Theory Workshop online course, which has helped over 15,000 people to pass their driving theory test and helps more and more people every single day. So if you want any help or support or want to know how to join our course, feel free to drop us a message or visit the website www.drivingtheoryworkshop.co.uk. Click the like button for us. Please share this video if you found it useful so other people can find it useful as well. But please do leave us a comment or hit the like button. It's always great to hear from you all. But for now, thank you so much for watching. I hope you found it useful. And if there's any topics that you want me to cover in the future, feel free to drop it into the comments section. But for now, have a great day, and I'll see you all again very soon.